Welcome to SFL class. We are going to continue learning about Transitivity System. The focus today is about relational processes, or what is called as processes of being and having. Relational processes. Relational processes are processes of being, possessing, or becoming in establishing relationships between two entities. We can't do without one or the other. If this happen, there is only one entity in the clause, it wouldn't be called relational in that case. Relational processes are classified into two distinct modes. They are identifying processes and attributive processes. The difference between identifying and attributive processes are: identifying is to establish an identity of something. In this case, A is the identity of X. For example, Jenny is a dancer. In this clause, there are two entities, Jenny and a dancer. A dancer is the identity of someone named Jenny, and vice versa. Meanwhile, attributive is to assign a quality to something. For example, Michael is smart. Smart is the participant roles in relational identifying and attributive processes. According to Halliday, each process has its own characteristic participant roles. In identifying process, the participant roles are token and value. Token refers to the sign, name, form, holder, occupant. Token is more concrete, more specific, and provide the instance. Value refers to the referent, function or status. In general terms, the value will be more abstract, general and will provide the category. In attributive processes, the participant roles are carrier and attribute. Carrier is the entity to whom the attribute is ascribed. Attribute is an attribute or assigned quality to the carrier.
Relational processes, within these two categories of attributive and identifying, may also be provided with more information about an entity, or subject or something, through three different types. They are intensive, that is, X is Y. Possessive, that is, X has Y. Circumstantial, that is, X is at, in, or under Y. Relational intensive process presents a relationship of equivalence. An X is Y connection between two entities. For example, Joyce is the best Irish writer. The room was sunless and cold. This is attributive intensive process. The mosque looks amazing. This is also attributive intensive process. Relative possessive process is that of ownership. X has Y. For example, she has beautiful eyes. Attributive possessive process. He owns half of Tesla. This is identifying possessive process. The circumstantial relationship is similar to the intensive, but it involves concepts like location, time, etc., rather than what the entity is like. It says where or when it is. X is at, in, under, Y. For example, dinner will be in about 20 minutes. This is attributive. The kitchen was at the back of the house. This is also attributive. The speech was followed by polite applause. This is the sample of identifying.
The following table indicates that all relational processes are either attributive or identifying, and at the same time are either intensive, possessive or circumstantial. The principal types of relational processes. They are Attributive intensive process. Identifying intensive process. Attributive circumstantial process. Identifying circumstantial process. Attributive possessive process. And identifying possessive process. The sample clauses are available to learn.
Identifying processes. An identifying process permits the participants to be reversed together with a corresponding change in grammatical function. The participants can be reversed in one of two ways: by the mere swapping of positions, or through passivization. For example, "That man is my father." This can be reversed into "My father is that man." In the clause of "that man is my father," that man is a participant called value. The word is a verbal group representing relational process, which indicates identifying intensive, because it indicates equivalent. And the word "my father" is then called as token. In the other clause of "my father is that man," "my father" is still a token, but the position in the clause is reversed. It is now in front of the verbal processes. Once again, we can see the change in grammatical function of the participants. In the first clause, "that man" is the subject, but in the second clause, it is the complement. Similarly, "my father" is the complement in the first clause, but the subject in the second. The followings are the verbs that realize relational identifying processes, among others.
Different forms of be, equal, make, signify, mean, define, spell, indicate, express, suggest, act as, realized, play, represent, stand for, refer, exemplify, etc.
In this slide, we will see other examples of clauses with identifying processes and token and value as their participants. Please have a look on the samples given. Three main parts comprise the human brain. The human brain is comprised with three main parts. We can see from both clauses that the participants' roles can be reversed. In which, in the first and second clauses, the roles of the participants can both become the token and the value. Meanwhile, the verbal group comprise, in the first clause, is passivized in the second clause without changing the meaning. For further learning and understanding of analyzing clauses consisting identifying processes, you can do further reading on some references of SFL, especially those related to relational processes in Transitivity System. Attributive processes. An attributive process generally does not allow the participants to be reversed. Unfortunately, it sometimes does. The crucial difference, however, is the grammatical functions of the participants will always remain unchanged, whether or not they can be reversed. Also, it might be helpful for you to note that an attributive process can never undergo passivization. For example, the clauses of "he is blessed" and "blessed is he." We could see that there is no change in the grammatical function of the participants. "He" remains the subject in both clauses, and "blessed" remains the complement in both as well. And is of course functioned as an attributive process. The followings are the verbs that realize relational attributive processes.
They are different forms of be, become, turn, grow, turn out, start out, end up, keep, stay, remain, seem, sound, appear, look, taste, smell, feel, and stand.
Let's have a look on other examples of attributive processes. Journalists are not a privileged class. All his music is romantic. The group words of are not and is are called attributive processes because they function to assign the quality of one entity that become the subject of the clauses. The words journalist and all his music, rolled as carrier, and a privileged class in romantic are the assigned quality given to the carriers in both clauses. Meanwhile, the words will be in the third clause is considered as circumstantial attributive process because the attribute is talking about the time, answering when. And the verbal group have got is functioned as possessive attributive process because I, as the carrier, have headache as its attribute. Further practice on this will make you understand more on this types of processes. Existential processes. This is the easiest of the lot. It involves existential constructions, which are introduced by an empty there in subject position. The typical verb that is used is the be verb. So, every time you see an existential construction, you have an existential process. So simple. There is also only one participant in an existential process. It is the existent. The existent is simply that which is construed existentially. However, please note that in cases such as on the wall is a handprint, we also have an existential process, although there is no empty there anywhere. But you know that this construction can be expanded too. On the wall there is a handprint. Alright. That's all about relational processes. Hope you can easily understand this explanation. In the slide, you will find the sample clauses consisting of existential processes. Have a new knowledge and wonderful experience in exploring the text analysis using Transitivity System. Goodbye.
The end. Till we meet again. Goodbye.